Karen,
Yes.
there are so many types of meditation out there,
True.
right? There's
Yep.
loving kindness, there's sitting in stillness, there's heart-centered, there are binaural beats and mindfulness meditations, there are even sound bath meditations.
Mhm.
But what if I told you that there is actually only one meditation that you need in order to manifest your life's purpose?
Ooh, I want to know that one.
And what if that one meditation was about to be revealed to us on this week's show?
Well, that would make me very excited.
I'd say, let's get on with the show. So here we go.
My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
we both want to believe.
so we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something
Anything
that will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
Hey there, I'm Will.
And I'm Karen.
And today we've got a special treat for you. He's an entrepreneur, a twice published and best-selling author, a podcast host, a yoga teacher, co-owner of Blue Osa Yoga Retreat and Spa in Costa Rica, and the creator of the revolutionary approach to yoga, Applied Yoga Anatomy Plus Muscle Activation, otherwise known as AYAMA. It's easy for me to say, right? Mhm. Now, he's journeyed from the wilds of Canada to New York City, where he started the global men's naked yoga movement, to the sacred Himalayas, where his leg was crushed by a boulder in a freak accident while trekking, to the untamed jungles of Costa Rica, where he built a thriving yoga retreat center, to today, where he's on a mission to help as many people as possible live a pain-free life by teaching his revolutionary approach to yoga. And he says he's accomplished all of this not because he's fearless or extraordinary, although I'm sure he is, but because he had a powerful meditation practice alongside him throughout it all. And he's about to reveal to us what that one meditation practice we all need to manifest our life's purpose today. Excited to talk to him, and welcome to the show, Yogi Aaron. How are you?
I am better now. Can you introduce me every day as I wake up out of bed? I love it.
You know, I've always told Karen I need to record someone saying something like that and just carry it around with me. So whenever I walk into a room, I've got this introduction, you know.
Yes.
It's always so much nicer when someone says, you know, stuff about you. So,
well, as long as it's good stuff.
Well, that's true.
But it's not just stuff. It's because I hear people read, you know, things about me all the time. But it's that you do it with such enthusiasm and gusto. That's what
there you go.
got me going. It's just like, wow, I need that enthusiasm daily in my life.
I have been accused of having lots of gusto. That's for sure.
Among other things, but we'll just stick with the gusto.
Right. No, we call it gusto here, bro. Okay. All right. Well, I'm excited to talk to you because I mean, you're super intrigued to learn what that one meditation practice is. But we're going to make everybody wait just a minute because one of the things, as I was researching you, one thing I found about you that I was astounded by, your type of yoga. Like you have a very unorthodox approach, right? You to the point of, Karen, get this. He feels that stretching might actually do more harm than good.
Ooh.
What? Yeah. We've been doing it wrong all along. How so?
Absolutely. Well, I never like to say anybody's been doing it wrong, but we've been doing it wrong. Well, you know, we don't know what we don't know until we know that we didn't know. I mean, you know, we can go back in medical history and see so many examples of the craziness that, you know, these people thought. But yeah, I started getting into yoga because I was tight. I was very athletic, and I thought, like most people, I need to stretch. And it's a natural progression because if you look at people as they age, they tend to become more closed in. And I always observed people that looked youthful and were older had more openness, more spring in their step, more mobility. So I got into yoga. I started stretching. And the very short story is it took me 25 years to realize it was the stretching that was causing me more pain. As soon as I started stretching, I developed back problems, knee problems, neck problems, lower back problems. all kinds of problems. And I never put two and two together until I ended up in a surgeon's office in an emergency room wanting to do a spinal fusion on my lower back. After doing this kind of stretching practice to be younger and be more youthful and virile, at the age of 45, they're wanting to do a spinal fusion. And I actually know
Wow.
many people in their 40s, early 40s even, who have had hip replacement surgeries and who are yoga teachers. So
Really?
it's
Wow.
something isn't going right. And then that led me into studying the neuromuscular connection between what actually happens when we stretch. And I mean, nothing I'm saying is made up. It's scientifically verified. These are people with PhDs will tell you, yeah, that's exactly what happens. And so the short answer is that when we stretch, we actually desensitize our nerve endings, and we desensitize our nerves so that the communication system between the nerves or the central nervous system and the muscles becomes desensitized. So when you need those muscles to support your body, aka like you're bent over, you pick something up, if your muscles aren't contracting properly, all of a sudden the body's not stable. What does it do? It tightens up. And then that's when you hear people say, oh my God, my back just went out, or I've got
Mm,
this huge kink in my neck. Those kinks in your back going out is a protective mechanism from your body to tighten up. So when your body it feels like it needs to it's unstable, it will just tighten up. And
mm.
so stretching is the absolute wrong thing to do. I know many people like to go, well, that's your opinion and this is my practice. Well, you
Mm.
can keep disabling your body if you keep stretching. That's up to you. And end up
Right.
in a end up
Yeah.
in an emergency room.
See, Karen, I and that is why I don't do yoga because I don't want to desensitize my nerves. I always knew it
Is that
all along.
why?
Yes, Yogi Aaron, I'm the worst. Like when you
The
you're
worst.
talking about tight, like
Oh my
Yeah.
I
gosh.
can't. Don't even think about touching your toes. I can't touch my knees. I mean, I am so
Yes.
It's
crazy tight. It's
bad.
ridiculous. And I've tried yoga before, and inevitably I end up
Yeah.
more pain than when I started. In fact, when Karen and I first started dating, she took me to Bikram yoga, and that was like hell. Like not only was I in pain, but I was in pain and sweating my ass off while I was in pain. It was terrible, like awful. So then, if stretching is not what we're supposed to be doing when we're doing
Mhm.
yoga, aren't you supposed to when you going into yoga poses? Aren't you stretching?
I don't teach stretching anymore. It's just the way that you approach certain postures. You're also, I mean, one of the number one rules of what I teach is just go to 30% of what you think is your range of motion. Like if you're going to do a stretch, only go to 30%. But the tightness that you're experiencing is just it's just a symptom of that connection between your brain and your muscles not working properly. That neuromuscular connection has become compromised due to stress, due to trauma, due to overuse. Overuse, by the way, could be as simple as you sitting for 8, 10, 12 hours a day. So that's like
Mm,
an overuse of your body in a stagnant posture. And that starts to compromise that neuromuscular connection. So, if we get that communication system working properly, you can have mobility back happening really quickly. But the tightness you're experiencing is your body protecting itself. It's like if you walked on ice, like you step out on ice, what do? You freeze up literally.
Mhm.
So there's an autonomic nerve response to go into a protective state. But I just wanted to say, Karen, oh my God, throwing Will into the fire like with Bikram, literally
I mean,
120 degrees.
No.
quite literally, it felt like my entire neurons were on
Well, he
fire.
didn't have to come. He
Yes.
was
Oh,
in that still trying to impress mode.
that which
Uh,
translates to have to come, Karen. If you don't know the way that
I
things
think you came
go.
twice, right? Didn't you
well,
go
Twice, and
twice?
the
clearly,
second time, you almost had to call the paramedics.
No, it wasn't that bad.
It was that
clearly
bad. It
he
was bad.
impressed.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, I got mad Bikram skills, baby.
You can sweat like nobody's business.
Right.
So when you uncompromise the communication, how flexible can you be? Like in high school and then I was on a dance team. I mean, I could do like all the
Sure.
splits and kicks and everything. can I get back to that? Or is that
Well,
just like, forget those days?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, the first question I always ask people is why? Like, why
I
do you
don't know.
want that? And then the second question, the follow-up
She had
question
great
would
hair back then.
I
That's
did have
why.
great hair.
well, then it's more about what we looked like. But no, but the bigger question is, how much flexibility do you need to have to be happy?
We have a young daughter.
Yeah.
She's 12 and she's starting to do sports and stuff. And I want to be able to do a lot of that stuff with her and not cry.
And not be paralyzed.
Yeah,
So,
so I would just say you want to make sure that you are functioning optimally and that the communication system is working properly throughout your body. How long will that take for you to get there? That just depends on history. It depends on what you're bringing to the table. But the answer is I ended up in the surgeon's office. It was 6 years ago. And pretty quickly, due to all of the work that I was doing on myself, I was able to actually get back into hiking and doing all kinds of stuff that I thought I would never do again. And now I'm 51 and I feel stronger today than I have in a long time, long time. So, and I would also point out, like, one of the things that always fascinates me is sometimes I'll bend over and I'll pick something up and I'll be like, huh, there's no tightness in my body right now. My body is working well. Like, I don't have my hamstrings pulling on me. I don't have my back like screaming
Mhm.
at me. And that's a sign that my body is working really well. So,
Mm.
how much, again, the question is always like, why? And then how much flexibility do you really need? I never really make that the goal. What my teacher Greg always says is when you have stability, you will have all the mobility in the world that you could possibly want.
Mm.
So just to clarify for the
Yeah.
slow person in the room, when you're talking about getting to, I think you said 70%. So ideally, what you're trying not to do is overstretch, right? You do need to stretch a little bit, or it's just
No,
like go beyond. Really, not
no,
stretching at all.
no, no, because what we've forgotten, and it's like, humans, as you know, have incredible amnesia.
I'm sorry. What was your
And
name?
so let me tell you, like, there's a pose, like, I'll pull out a Bikram pose because I've done Bikram a lot. So
Mhm.
one of the Bikram is you come over to the side
Mhm.
bending pose. And usually they'll cue it like go, 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 and try and feel the stretch on the side body. But in the way that I would set that up, and I would almost do it the same. I would have actually people cross their arms and do it. But instead of focusing on the stretch, what are actually the muscles that is moving the body in that pose? The muscles that are moving the body is the lateral obliques and quadratus lumborum and a few of the other side bender muscles. So what you want to do is you want to activate those. So when you're coming over, I would cue it more like squeeze the shoulder to the hip, and now you're engaging all of those muscles properly. It's not a focus on trying to stretch. And what we've forgotten, again, the amnesia thing is the role of muscles. So muscles always work in pairs. There's a muscle that's contracting. It's called the agonist, and there's the other muscle that's relaxing. That's the antagonist. And so in yoga, where we've gone wrong in a lot of this kind of stretching ideas, that we're focusing on getting the agonist to actually go longer than it should be, instead of focusing on the muscle that should be contracting. If we focus on that more, then we increase our range of motion, and there's 100% accountability. If I'm just focusing on stretching, the whole nerve connection gets discombobulated, and is that a word?
It
And
is.
It is today.
and then there's no accountability, and then we lose the muscle connection. And you see that happen a lot. Like, think about Bikram classes. People get
Mm.
up, they're not like bouncing up, they're like
No.
crawling up,
Yeah,
pulling
because
themselves
they're in a
into a
puddle
stick
on the
because
floor.
none of their muscles are working properly. They've all been like, that whole neuromuscular connection is just gone. And so people don't have that, like, what some people call force output. There's no force output in the muscles. Muscles should always be able to contract and contract on demand. When they don't, there's a problem. And the
Mm.
result of that is stress in the joints, and the result of stress is pain. So that's why I'm on a mission to help people become pain free.
You know, I'd love
Ooh,
it.
I want to sign up because holy mackerel, I've been in pain since I blame COVID because I started working from home and
Yeah.
Will was working from home and our daughter was homeschooling. And so they got the good spots and I got the couch. So I sat on the couch with my laptop for a couple of years and now my back, it's terrible. It's just
Yeah.
terrible.
Sure,
Yeah.
blame it on us.
I do.
I
You
see.
got the office, Sienna got the dining room, I got the couch.
Right. But now the office is sitting empty all day, every day. Now we're both sitting on the couch
Well,
instead.
now because I can't sit anywhere but the couch because I'm so messed up.
You become one with the couch.
Hey,
You fused with the
no. No.
all right. Well, this is fascinating because I've studied a little bit of Hinduism, right? And Hindu's all about yoga, but their yoga is, I
Sure.
mean, they really specifically talk about stretching in order to reach the mindfulness thing, right? So this
Yeah.
is maybe not exactly what the Hindus were thinking about when it comes to yoga. You're talking more of a Western physiology. Let's keep ourselves healthy and young as much as possible, long as possible.
There's a
Well, I
lot
like
to
that.
unpack in that statement,
Uh-huh.
but I'm gonna I'll keep it really short and just leave it at this, and if you want more, you can ask me, but in the yoga scriptures, there's actually no reference to having to become flexible. There's
Oh.
nothing.
Well,
And
then
that's one
it's
of
the
that's a big misconception in the West, like, because we see these lanky, sinewy, 18-year-old men, doing these incredible things, but as I would say to Karen, who she goes to a Bikram class wanting to look like them, are you really an 18-year-old lanky, sinewy Indian boy?
not this time around. She's not.
You can attest to
Bust,
that.
meet Karen. Thank you, Will.
All right.
So, yeah, that's all I have to say about that for now.
Okay. Well, I won't out then who it is whose book I read, but it's an Indian who came over to the
Sure.
States who established an ashram that is pretty well known. Reading his book talks about being flexible. So lot to unpack, like you
Maybe
said.
it means flexible of the mind. Maybe you misunderstood the whole book.
Damn
I
it.
can't speak to that, but all I can tell you is that in scriptural reference, there is no reference to the importance of flexibility.
Yeah.
And what has happened is, and if you look at a lot of the teachers as they age, they actually don't really do much asana. Asana is like something engineered for us to, I mean, I could go on and on and on about it, but it's really something for us to get a grip of our mind. And so there's only two things that we have to master in order to master posture, and that's stillness and then joy, or ease and effortless, which is the result is joy. So
Yeah.
if we can embody those two things, then we can master asana. And it's interesting because the whole idea of that teaching, scripturally referenced in Sutra 246, 248, he says, if you can master those two qualities, you can overcome all the pairs of opposites of life, meaning that neither pain or pleasure will pull you in any direction, that you just become this steadfast pillar of steadiness in the world. And for
That-
me, that's a powerful teaching.
No doubt about it. And I know now for sure that I'm doing it wrong because stillness and joy, when I do yoga, I do shakiness and pain. So it is not at all what I'm trying to be doing here.
Can I just tell you something? You're
Yeah.
what I always refer to. I have two archetypes when I'm doing my
Uh-oh.
teacher trainings, and one of them is called stiff biff. And you are just probably,
Oh my
you
God.
probably would be
So
my
stiff
stiff
biff.
biff in the class.
I'm going to get you a t-shirt, Will.
You know, I might actually wear it. I think it fits really well. I don't know.
By the way, women can also be stiff biff. It's gender neutral. So
Yeah, pretty agnostic.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Well, this has been fascinating. We just getting started and we already have to take a break. So if you will just bear with us, when we come back, we're going to talk about that one meditation practice that we teased at the beginning of the show, because this is what the whole reason we brought Yogi Aaron into the show, and we've yet to touch on it. But I promise you, when we come back, we're going to dive into it. So stay with us. Welcome back to the Skeptic Metaphysicians. We are speaking to Yogi Aaron, who is enlightening us with the fact that we are doing it wrong. And I'm talking about yoga, of course. Right before the break, we talked about the fact that in scripture, there was nothing that said that you have to be flexible. And you're right. Thinking back on the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads, everything I've read, I don't recall ever hearing anything about being stretchy. So,
Stretchy.
right. So I appreciate you giving us a whole new perspective on yoga because it is completely different than anything I mean, it is completely anti-intuitive. Like it is completely the opposite of everything we've ever heard about in yoga in the Western world. It's incredible. Yep.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, before we left, and in the beginning of the show, and in the middle of the show, and every other time except for when we were, we talked about this one meditation practice. Now,
Mhm.
you've done a lot in your life and a lot of struggles that ultimately came out to be really good things, but you had to overcome.
Hmm.
You mentioned meditation practice, and everyone who listens to the show knows how important meditation is. I mean, it is a no-brainer. It's the first step. It is a do not pass go, do not collect $200. You've got to meditate if you want to move down this path. Whatever path you decide, meditation seems to be the gateway drug for all of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yet you say, and this is where you got my attention, you say that there is one practice that you must do to manifest your life's purpose. Yogi Aaron,
Ooh.
I must know what this practice is because I'm doing
Need
a
a drum
1,000
roll.
of them and I need to know because I have not found it yet. And this is the ever elusive meditation practice. Okay. Yogi Aaron, the floor is yours.
Oh my God, I just felt the pressure go up like so many notches. So
Right.
there's a couple of things that I kind of want to tee up first, but one of them is so I was on the train coming from Vancouver to New York, and I decided for some crazy reason, which I never recommend to anybody else, to take the train from West Coast to East Coast or vice versa. It's one of the most horrible experiences you'll
Well,
ever have
as
on
long as you
Amtrak.
as long as,
And
well, yeah, I was gonna say if you have a sleeper car, it might not be so bad. But if you're just sitting there like in an airline seat next to the guy next to you sleeping on your shoulder, that because I did that, and that's not fun.
it wasn't fun, but I was in my, late 20s and trying to save a buck, and I had my big bags, and I was moving to New York, and it was really moving there without any money in my pocket. And but everything inside of me, I'd been doing yoga for a little while, and I felt like my dharma, my purpose was pushing me to New York. And I couldn't explain why. Just everything inside of me was just saying, go to New York, study yoga, teach. I know it's a weird idea. Like, why would you go to New York to study yoga? But there's so many great yoga teachers in New York,
Sure.
and
Yeah. Very international
and
city.
I kind of like intuitively just picked it out. And so, anyways, I was on the train and I was just feeling that kind of terror. It was really the first time in my life at that point that I was kind of doing it on my own in many ways. I'd done
Yeah.
stuff clearly on my own before, but just feeling that kind of terror bubbling
Yeah.
up. And one of the things that I really felt as that terror was bubbling up was how paralyzing fear is in terms of being, of tapping into that inspirational source of that well of creative ideas, like that flow just stops like all of a sudden. And so I kind of closed my eyes and this meditation practice kind of dropped in. Now, before I tell you what it is,
Oh my God,
um,
Yogi.
sit- I'm learning something from watching you.
Oh, okay. Damn it.
So,
All right.
so I have to jump ahead. And so when I went to New York, part of my mission was to find a teacher. Like I really
Mhm.
wanted a teacher. And this idea of Tantra started coming up for me, partly because of the work I was doing with the men, and then partly because of other things. And I was like, what is this Tantra business? And so I happened to pick up a magazine from Kripalu, and there was right on one of the pages, Living Tantra. And I had met my teacher, Rod. And so one of the things that Rod tore the veil back between the seen and the unseen for
Mhm.
me. I was able to begin to get a glimpse of the sacred self. And I'd never experienced that before. But one of the most interesting things was my big takeaways was this idea of tantra. So a lot of people think of tantra as like sex and, you know, the yoga of sex. And usually if they go to a tantra yoga workshop, they want to get rid of the yoga and get to the sex. So,
I mean, who doesn't? I mean, that was the whole point of me going to Bikram yoga. Oops, did I say that out loud?
so
Sorry
Rod-
about that.
But the actual definition of tantra means to become limitless, to move beyond all limitations. That's the literal translation of tantra. So sitting on the train, I kind of started tapping into this meditation practice, this affirmation, this bhavana. In Sanskrit, the word we often use is bhavana, like something that you can really feel in your heart. And the word bhav actually denotes like love. So to bring love into an idea. And this affirmation just kind of dropped into my space. And it was, I'm opening myself up to the universe of limitless possibilities. And I just dropped into that practice literally on the train on the way to New York. And the most amazing things started happening. The fear immediately started to vanish. The creative source of inspiration just started opening up to me. And that kind of, I would say, like this sense of indomitable willpower that each human being possesses became like a great force within me. And you know, after moving to New York, and of course when the train landed, and and I got home and stuff like that, that fear obviously came back time and time and time again. I had so many setbacks those first few months, and that, but the saving thing, the thing that got me through, the thing that kept my focus, that kept me on my path of purpose and intention, was that meditation practice. And anytime I would just start to go into that fearful place, I was able to capture that bhavana, that idea, that feeling, that affirmation, and remember who I was. And that's the point of, I think, meditation. I mean, meditation has many different levels to it, but at the source, a meditation practice should bring us immediately, like in a split second, back to who we are at our source. And so that we can tap into that intuitive wisdom, that indomitable willpower, that creative source of inspiration. And the reason why I told the story about my teacher is because that idea of tantra is the embodiment of what just kind of dropped into me. I call it sometimes spiritual downloads. We get those spiritual downloads, and those spiritual downloads, that one that I had on the train is the one that kind of propelled me to starting in New York with nothing, opening up a yoga studio, which went worldwide, to opening up a yoga retreat center. So
Wow.
be careful what you open yourself up to.
Oh, but it all sounds great. So I have a question about something that Will mentioned in the introduction. You were hiking and
Yes.
your leg got crushed. That sounds
Yes.
horrible. Now, my question is, was that before you started doing this type of yoga, or was it after? And did this help you heal? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. No, I hadn't started the Yama path yet. I was
Okay.
still a regular yoga teacher. Having said that, my spiritual practice of yoga, and even somewhat the physical, and that's a bigger discussion, but the spiritual practice prepared me for that event, because when it happened, I was in the middle of the Himalayas. I was 26 kilometers away from the vehicles, and my femur literally broke in half. Like you see the
Oh,
X-ray, it was like that. And
sounds awful.
so I feel like everything in my life prepared me for that
Mm.
moment.
Yeah.
I'm opening myself up to the universe of limitless possibilities.
Right.
Really,
Yes.
no joke.
Yeah.
And so, but after that, on a physiological level, everything that was wrong with me before, physiologically speaking, just became exacerbated and worse. And so it didn't help things, but I had started glimpsing into the world of muscle activation and what
Hmm.
was going on at that level. But since then, I would say like I'm a lot stronger now than I ever was. So
And
that feels
I,
really good.
I would think an injury like that would have like lasting pain and kind of repercussions, but it
Hmm.
sounds like what you're doing maybe has been really helping it.
Yeah,
That doesn't sound like
absolutely.
something you just get over.
No, I mean, I had to wear a knee brace for a long time if I
Yeah.
did any walking for an extended period of time. Now I don't have to wear any braces or any supports or anything like
Wow.
that.
That's great.
Yeah.
So then let's get a little bit into the what's Yama?
Ayama, yes.
Yama? Your technique, for lack of a better word, your approach, that's a better word. Your approach
Hmm.
is quite revolutionary, right? What makes
Yes.
Yama different than most yoga practices out there?
Well, the biggest one, so there's kind of a twofold question because I'm always using this coin like we're trying to flip the script in the yoga world
Hmm.
and stop making it about stretching and flexibility. And so part of it, my focus is to bring yoga back to what it's supposed to be about. You know, how often do we ever go into a yoga class and hear a teacher talking about how our practice can help us to manifest and live our life purpose? I never. You never hear a yoga teacher talking about that asana is, the goal of asana is to help us become these steady forces in life where nothing pulls us in either direction, that we have a clear sense of purpose in who we are. And I think that's one of the biggest shames of this marketing thing. So that's one part of a yama. And the other part that makes it very different is, well, number one, stop stretching
Right, right,
and
right,
start
right.
activating. And so a lot of what I do is I kind of flip the script in terms of, what Karen was talking about before about wanting to put her foot up behind her head and do all of those marvelous things. But it's kind of getting people back into, let's use our yoga practice so that we can stand well in life and not have pain. And checking in with ourselves and using that as a tool to, push us forward in life rather than, the whole idea of like putting your foot behind your head or learning to stand on your hands or whatever it is. Those are all kind of distractions at the end of the day. And this is where the idea of posture can be the key to your liberation or the box of your own prison. There's so many people that are so focused on make their body look a certain way that they've completely missed the mark. And what the asana is there to get you free, not to imprison you into a shape.
Mm, mm. So basically, what I'm hearing here is that when you do yoga, it's not supposed to hurt.
It should never hurt.
It should never hurt, Karen. See,
Never
it
It
hurt.
should
never hurts
never
me. It
hurt.
hurts
Never
you.
hurt.
Oh my
Never
God.
ever.
It is impossible. Now, did you not see me shaking and beating up in sweat and stuff? Because that's because I'm trying not to
I
scream
think
in
I've blocked
pain.
that out.
Yeah.
I was looking away. I wanted to be impressed.
Mm. Yeah. All right. Now we've established the fact that stretching is bad. We got it. So stretch bad. Flex. Flexibility is good, but not stretching. Stretching is bad. So it is there. I mean, even back in junior high when you're doing gym class, and the first
Yeah,
thing you do is put your right leg over your left leg, and you bend down, right?
sure.
You stretch. Is there a safe way to stretch, or should we just not stretch at all? Like maybe get up in the morning and just keep ourselves like in a little bundle and walk to the shower and no stretching allowed, or
Well, there's nothing wrong with like if you bring your arms up to the sky. Now don't move your chest. Now bring your biceps behind your ears a little bit more. Do you feel your back muscles working?
yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So what are those back muscles doing? They're shortening, they're contracting. And so
Mm,
that is a great movement, by the way. That's a fantastic way to start activating your trapezius muscles. If you bring your arms out at 45 degrees and just bring them back, you're going to feel your lower traps starting to engage, which is a great thing. Now, do you feel sort of a sense of opening in your chest? Absolutely. When the trapezius muscle shortens, the result is the pecs start to relax. You're not trying to stretch the pecs, you're trying to engage the trapezius muscles. So when you engage, when you come at it from that perspective, if my focus now is engaging my traps, the pecs are going to start to naturally release. Now, some people might want to call that a stretch. I don't. Biomechanically, it's just they just relax. That's what's
Mm.
happening. They have to relax so that the trapezius can contract. Now, the tightness in the chest is a symptom of the traps not being able to contract properly. And the result of them not contracting properly, guess what, is tight neck all the way up into the top of your neck. Yeah, the lower traps are actually the opposite of the upper traps. And so the upper traps tighten up because the lower traps are not doing their job properly.
Oh my
It's
God.
fascinating.
I'm constantly dealing with this stiff neck.
Always.
Constantly.
He gets
Yeah.
migraines nonstop.
Gosh. I gotta ask though, because as we've already established, I am stiff biff and I can't
Yes.
get into the postures. How
Yes.
could I possibly get into a posture if I don't stretch my way into it? Like if there's
Well, if you
I'll
are
push you in
folding
there.
forward and you said earlier that you couldn't touch your knees, the question is, okay, so what are the muscles that are contracting to bring you forward? Well, now we're looking at a lot of your, let's call it the APAC, your rectus abdominis. We're also
that's right.
looking at our oblique muscles.
Wow,
Yes, you're trying to find
you've
them.
seen my pictures then on Facebook, haven't you?
So what's happening is those muscles are not shortening properly, and that's why you're feeling the tightness. They're in a kind of static state. They're not working properly. So what we want to do is get those muscles working, and if I did, I could probably get you to increase your range of motion quite dramatically.
Wow.
True
Wow.
story.
Mm.
True story.
So do you have videos that people can get and watch?
How
I mean,
she's asking, how can Will
Yes,
actually
pretty
get
much,
to where you're
pretty much.
saying?
So yeah, people can access all my content on yogiaaron.com. It's sort of the gateway into the Yogi Club, into my YouTube channel, into the book, which is called Stop Stretching, my podcast series called Stop Stretching. I also, if you fish around on my site, and maybe I'll put it in the show notes, is the link to the affirmation series that we've, because I created a 28-day affirmation series. That one that I shared with you is one of them. And it's all about, using these to manifest and live your life purpose. But that's how people can access what I'm doing. I have a pain-free series that's right on my site as
Ooh, I
well.
like that.
So it takes people through kind of like trying to educate people a little bit on how they can live their best pain-free life and why they're experiencing pain and what they can do about it.
Yeah, we're definitely going to add all those links
Yeah.
to our show notes. Yogi Aaron, where have you been all my life?
Or just the last 20 years.
There we go.
Now, I think we would be doing our listeners a disservice if I did not ask about something Will mentioned.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
You mentioned it. I got to ask.
Are we
Naked men yoga.
Yes.
What is that?
I knew it.
And why
I
are they
knew
naked?
it. I knew it. I was waiting to
So-
see if we can get through the show without
Well,
you bringing it up.
bring that up, and that's not something that you just mention and don't explain.
Like a hit and run.
Yeah, people out there are going, come on, get to the naked men yoga part.
Yeah. No, I think one particular person in the audience.
So I just have to specify I was opening myself up to the universe of limitless possibilities. And
You were opening up in all kinds of ways.
and when I was actually in New York, I remember the day really well. I was with a friend and I was walking, and I happened to be walking across 6th Avenue, which is the Avenue of Americas, and it
I
was
was
in the
just
middle of
gonna
the
say that.
street. And the top of my head opened up, and this idea came into my head. It was like, oh my God, hot nude yoga. And I did it. I started it for a few reasons, but one of them was I just feel like men are sort of an underserved community in the world of yoga, and I wanted to create a safe space and a fun space for men to come and just be men. And what better way to do that? And yeah, like when men get together, it's a powerful thing. Just like when women get together,
Mhm.
it's a very powerful experience. And I just saw, like, my idea was to do it for 6 months and then call it a day and, move on.
Mhm.
It ended up becoming this, like, global phenomena, which is a whole other story. But it's just the community that came out of that was just incredible and
Mhm.
one of the most enriching times of my life.
Well, I mean, I understand, like, going skinny dipping and stuff, and just something about being out and naked. It's very freeing, but I
Yes.
don't think I'd want to be bending around a bunch of naked women. I would be so self-conscious.
Right. Have you never played Naked Twister, Karen?
Actually, no.
Oh. Oh, me either.
That's
I
well,
mean,
and
does
that
it take people to warm up, like, to kinda are they uncomfortable at first, and then the group kinda starts
Can
getting more comfortable?
can you
Like,
start with toga yoga and then work your way to
thong yoga?
no, it was an all or nothing,
Yeah.
baby.
Oh,
No, there was no, and how many times I got emails from people wanting just to come and watch the class. Oh my God, that
Oh
oh
was
my
my
gosh,
gosh.
hilarious.
really?
I mean, yeah, really, they had the nerve. Well,
I
I'm not
think
so
I saw
sure.
that
Can I
on
come and watch the
Cinemax.
class?
My back's a little stiff. I don't think
But
I can do it, but I wanna know it.
a big part
Uh-huh.
of it was coming outside your comfort zone. And I can just say from my own younger years, nudity was always a big issue for me. I grew up in a very religious household
Mhm,
in my younger years. And so the idea of getting naked, and I remember when I started to, and I just felt liberated. I felt
mhm,
free. And I felt like there was like something around me that had just come off. And I was like, hey, here I am. And so that's also was a big part of it was just people taking a leap of faith and just getting outside of becoming limitless. That's the
Mhm.
mhm.
definition of
Yeah.
tantra. Become
Yeah.
limitless. Go
And
beyond your limitations.
is it still going on now?
It's become a worldwide, phenomena. There's
Right.
been chapters of men's groups that have opened up all over the place. One of the things that I should not be saying this right now, but anyways,
Too
I
late.
actually created a ton of videos and that are out
Uh,
there. And so
oh,
part of my intention was to put those videos out. And at the very least, like these different men's groups could put them on play and do them together,
Mhm,
or other people would become inspired by them and start teaching, their own groups, which is what exactly happened. So
wow.
again, opening up to the universe of limitless possibilities. Very short, quick, fun story. I was in Australia leading a retreat and we went to Alice Springs. Well, Alice Springs is home to Ayers Rock. So I had all of these guys with me. We're going to Ayers Rock. We weren't going to do naked yoga there. We're just going, playing tourists. It was the tourist part of the Australian trip. We pull up to the gate, 4 o'clock in the morning. Guard goes, "Are you those naked guys?"
No, no,
Like,
that's Thunder Down Under. That's different.
we're in the middle of the outback, in the middle of nowhere.
Oh
Are
my
you the
gosh.
nudies? So my reputation preceded me.
Uh,
Yes, it sure does.
I see that. Yeah. We're quickly running out of time, but I've got to ask because it's the question that's been hanging out there for me for almost the entire interview. But going back to the stretching part of things, because obviously I am focused, as you can tell, because
Mhm,
I'm blown away by all this. But
Yeah,
this is such a different way of thinking of how
yeah.
to do yoga and things like that. What's been the reception in the
mhm.
yoga community? Because I can't imagine a lot of people being real happy with what you're trying to teach out there.
Yeah, and I think that probably a good 30 to 50% think I'm the devil incarnate or something.
Right.
Mm,
Right.
And it's threatening. It's threatening to them because the question, who am I if I'm not teaching, how am I going to teach yoga if I'm not teaching stretching? And so that is a big problem for a lot of people to kind of like wrap their heads around. Also, like I met this one woman who works in the gym, and part of her job is to stretch people. And here she is thinking she's doing a service, and then she kind of finds out from me that she's not actually. And I just want to kind of just say one thing really quick that we can actually test muscle function. So we can test you are strong and then when you stretch and you're going to test weight. And I've done this countless times, and I've actually got a whole thing where I can get people to do it to themselves. You can test your own sort of force output, and you feel the difference quite dramatically, actually, what happens before you stretch and after you stretch. So but I would also say like 30 to 50% of people doing yoga recognize at some level or at a deep level that what they're doing is not supporting them. What they're doing is actually making them worse. But the yoga, the stretching part of it feels good, and so
Mhm.
this is like if you ask a lot of yoga teachers, why do we stretch? Well, because you feel good. Well, my response is doing a line of cocaine makes you feel good. You don't see us all running around
Right.
doing cocaine like just because something makes you feel good, that should never be the answer about why we do something.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
So it's I would say it's like a 50-50 thing. A lot of people are very interested, but it is definitely making some waves.
Mm.
I bet.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
But it kind of makes sense because if you think like a rubber band, if you stretch it too much, then
Mhm.
it breaks or it doesn't work or it gets all, funky. So
Was the term you used discombobulated? Was that
Discombobulated, yes.
the term of the day, right?
Cattywampus. And throw a juggernaut in there somewhere. I don't even know what that means.
Now, Yogi Aaron, do you still teach yoga to people in person or online or anything
Mhm.
other than I know you've got your content on your website, but you still do teach
Yep.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the content I actually film is when I'm with teaching students. Like I just
Mm.
finished doing a teacher training, and I filmed a lot of content while I was doing the teacher trainings. I do a lot of travel. I teach, in different studios. I teach at yoga festivals. My main area of teaching is at Blue Osa, the yoga retreat I have in Costa Rica.
Mhm.
And we do
Yes,
teacher
please.
trainings there.
Oh,
And
I thought you invited us. I'm sorry. I'm hearing things. Sorry about that. No. Okay.
come down and we'll film a radio episode.
Let's do it. No.
Yeah, so I am teaching, yes.
Okay. Well, awesome.
Great.
Well, we're going to lay in all those links directly on show notes. All you need to do is go to skepticmetaphysician.com, go to his episode page. You'll see all those links there so you can connect with Yogi Aaron directly. His stuff is mind blowing. It's been blowing my mind this entire interview. So I'm thrilled that we got the chance to talk with you because I never knew how badly I didn't know how to do yoga. So
Well, maybe you understand a little bit about why it was causing you so much pain to try and stretch, and I think this is one of the biggest things as well. Like in the yoga world, we talk about how yoga is about creating a safe space, it's about honoring our bodies. And yet when we're stretching, we're actually violating our body's own self-protective mechanisms. And what we should do instead is honor those protective mechanisms and address the cause of why it's tightening up. And that's where I come in.
Right. The typical story of East versus West, Eastern
Yes.
medicine versus Western
Mhm.
medicine. So this has been fascinating. Yogi
Yeah.
Aaron, thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom with us. I am really looking forward to reintroducing myself to yoga because now that sounds like stuff that I might want to do. I might be able to do
Yeah.
to start with. So
You
thank
go
you for
from
that.
stiff biff to bendy Wendy.
Karen made a
I
fun-
love it.
No. I can't believe you just went there. I think we might have found our episode title. All right. Well, once again, Yogi Aaron, thank you so much for coming on.
It's been
Thank
fun.
you. Thanks, guys.
And a huge thank you to you. We hope you've enjoyed this conversation as much as we have. If you did and you feel called to give back, we invite you to visit our website at skepticmetaphysician.com, where you can donate to the show or subscribe as a member through our Buy Me a Coffee campaign. Your support will go a long way towards allowing Karen and I to bring you these wonderful conversations and teachings in more and more robust ways. Well, that's all for now, but we'll see you on the next episode of The Skeptic Metaphysician. Until then, take care.